Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tried to hit back at President-elect Trump, but instead he managed to insult you, all of you Americans out there. You may remember at a recent meeting, Trump reportedly suggested to Trudeau that Canada become the 51st state if the country couldn't handle his border tariffs. Trump then doubled down on the jab, labeling the prime minister the, quote, governor of Canada. Here's Trudeau's attempt at a counterpunch.
We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
Well, he seems very proud of himself right there. I mean, Kennedy, could a counterpunch get any lamer?
No, I watched that and I went, wow, Justine Trudeau. What
Governor of the Year.
What brand of tampons do you use? I'm such a proud feminist.
Tim Walz.
My goodness. Ooh, I'm trembling with fear. Please don't invade us with your soy boyness.
Lauren, okay, so the Canadian Prime Minister insults all Americans. That's what he did.
It just seems so unnecessary. Why are you meddling in our politics and making those comments when you're not very popular at home and you're up for re-election next year? And I was so surprised we didn't play Taylor Swift music on the way in, because remember, it was just a few weeks ago. Trudeau went to the Taylor Swift concert while there were attacks on the police and these pro-Palestinian protests that got out of hand. And he did respond and condemn the violence, but it was so late and so not satisfying. And then he doubles down with this. It's just unnecessary.
It is. David, you mentioned your radio programs on in Canada, and your callers are not big fans of Trudeau.
No, look, even in his home district around Montreal, they don't like him anymore. Trudeau is simply not well liked, mainly because he's failed. Like so many leftists, he's failed. He's up against Pierre Poilievre, and it looks like there is a real chance for certainly not just a conservative governor in the sense of a new prime minister, someone who will govern that way, but chance that the people in Toronto and even in Quebec and others will come together under what they need. They don't want to be treated like the convoy was treated when they had their freedom convoys, when they shut down their bank accounts. They don't want to be treated as second class to the illegal aliens that Trudeau welcomes. And Trudeau will always be a failure. He'll never even be what his father was, and his father was a bad enough leftist.
Yeah, do you mind if I double down with you a little bit, David? Because you're talking with people from Canada. You know, it's not a dictatorship. They voted for him. You said they don't like him anymore.
They saw the results of his soy boyness. I'm sorry, I have to steal that one.
Take it.
They call him that all the time when they call in from Canada. The fact is they saw what happened. He had a legacy name, Trudeau. That's how he won. He had a lot of support. And to be fair, back then when he was elected, the outer provinces were not as engaged politically. But once they saw what happened, just like we saw people come over to the non-leftist side in America, away from the Democrats, away from Kamala, towards Trump, Canada's now doing the same thing. And for the record, there are a lot of proud Canadians. They play a lot of pond hockey. That's what's going on now. But a lot of them don't mind our relationship. They love our relationship. And I welcome you. 51st state, come on in.
Yeah, and I mean, Harris, maybe, just maybe, American voters rejected Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, not because of gender, but because they didn't believe in their plans for the country.
No, that's exactly true. I mean, this was not a cry against women, although Hillary Clinton even had trouble getting women on the left to come to some of her events here in New York City. I mean, I remember that. I remember those rather empty events. No, it's about policy. It's about leadership. And yeah, you know, there's the quotient of likability. It's not even about that in the end. People want to be able to afford food. They want to have a pathway to the American dream. And they didn't see it through those two women. And I don't even think they were all that similar. I mean, the Democrats put up very different women. So it isn't like they had some gender thing in common or anything in common other than their gender. They just chose differently. And timing is everything. It was time for Kamala to sit down.
Well, it's to sit down. And maybe, Trudeau, instead of insulting your greatest ally, you could work on rectifying the trade imbalance. That's going to become a problem for you January 20th.